Prime Minister David Cameron accuses US whistleblower Edward Snowden of assisting Britain's enemies by helping them avoid surveillance by its intelligence services.
What Snowden is doing, and to an extent what the newspapers are doing in helping him doing what he's doing, is frankly signalling to people who mean to do us harm how to evade and avoid intelligence and surveillance and other techniques.
In his strongest remarks yet, Cameron told a news conference that the revelations in the leak will make it harder to keep people safe.
Let me say this, though, about what Mr. Snowden has effectively done and what some newspapers are assisting him in doing, and that is going to make it a lot more difficult to keep our countries and our people safe. You know, we do have to take a sort of cold, hard look at this. As we stand today, there are lots of people in the world who want to do us harm, who want to blow up our families, who want to maim people in our countries. That is the facts. It's not a pleasant fact, but it is true.
Cameron spoke after European Council meetings, which have been overshadowed by allegations that the US tapped the mobile phone of German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Meanwhile, State Department spokesperson says the US was reviewing its surveillance activities. This comes in the wake of the disclosure that the US monitored phone conversations of 35 world leaders, according to classified documents leaked by Snowden. The US acknowledged the disclosure has weakened relations with some key allies, chiefly Germany, Italy, and France.
There's no question that the disclosure of classified information has posed a moment of tension with some of our allies. We're having discussions with those allies. Those will continue, as is evidenced by the German delegation that will be coming here in the coming weeks.
Germany will send its top intelligence chief to Washington next week to verify the allegations. Thousands of protesters in the U.S. marched to the D.C. Capitol demanding a limit to the government surveillance programs. Some of the demonstrators held banners in support of Edward Snowden. The march attracted protesters across the political spectrum.
I'm just outraged, like most people here, at the mass surveillance that's going on, and people just don't seem to be upset about it. It's blatantly unconstitutional.
The demonstration was organized by a coalition known as Stop Watching Us. The group consists of 100 public advocacy groups and individuals urging Congress to reform the way the NSA gathers intelligence. But despite this protest, the Obama administration says gathering online data secretly is crucial in protecting the U.S. and thwarting militant plots.
Now, to take this discussion forward, we're joined in studio by a research associate at the South African Institute of International Affairs, Tom Wheeler. Tom, good morning to you.
Hello, Albert.
Outraged, disgust by people out there. What do you make of this latest situation between the US and the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel?
Well, I'm just surprised that they even didn't know it was going on. Everybody does it, as I think the head of the French security has also said recently. So I assumed when I was working in government that my calls were being, when I was serving overseas, that my calls were being intercepted, and we've seen just recently that even the Commissioner of Police has her calls intercepted when she was talking to the Western Cape Commissioner. So everybody's doing it. So why is the great surprise?
Now, as we heard on the insert, the Obama administration said spying is crucial for their government. Yeah. But what about other countries that they are spying on?
Of course, everybody's doing it, including the South African government. You want me to go and show you where they're doing it in Pretoria?
But is the mandate of the US government to spy on other world leaders, is that a mandate?
Well,
because world leaders are important.
Yes, the main thing is you mustn't get found out like they've got found out now, because that upsets the relationship and upsets people like Angela Merkel, who is a key ally in NATO, in the Western, what they call the Euro-Atlantic group, the European Union and North America. So, it's distressing and upsetting, and it's likely to do some damage. And there's some heavy talking got to go on here to resolve this, to get them all back on even keel.
Well, what will this do for US and German relations, you think?
I think the relationship's too important to be disrupted, but, you know, when Angela Merkel meets Obama at a conference, she's probably going to give him the cold shoulder. So it'll be that sort of thing until they sort this lot out and stop it. You know, I think that if by now they haven't discovered that East Germany has disappeared and she came from East Germany, then they're missing something. The same sort of thing happened with the 9/11, that the security people were telling them that this was going on, but they were not listening. And I heard, saw a reference to Tokyo Sequali, that our ambassador in Washington had to get him released because he's still on a terrorist list. You know, haven't they caught up with what happened in 1994?
Yes.
That this man's a big businessman now.
Almost 20 years later.
And his name is still on a terrorist list. I mean, really, they need to get things sorted out.
Now, a German newspaper says that the US President Barack Obama knew his intelligence service was eavesdropping on the Chancellor as long ago as in 2010, but it contradicts reports that Obama has told the German leader that he did not know. Now, the question then that begs to be asked is Obama in charge here?
Well, that's a very good question. Perhaps somebody in the White House knew. One doesn't know. I mean, they're not going to tell us. They're not going to come up front because these things are so, you know, under the cover. So that one I can't answer.
Now, what are the kind of efforts do you think that will the leaking of these documents by Edward Snowden now have on the US as a country and as a world leader?
Well, I think they'll have to rethink the way they do things. The National Security Agency has been there for a long time, breaking the codes I recall when I served in the South African Embassy in Washington that a senior official came to our ambassador and brought some documents and said, please don't send these electronically to Pretoria. The implication was that they would break our codes and they'd find out that he'd given us the documents. So I put it in the diplomatic bag, which they don't have such easy access to. But now with cell phones, it's got just so much easier. All that stuff is out there. You can get it much more easily than having to break the codes first. These people are just talking.
Now, countries, South Africa included, how do we deal with this situation in terms of spying? But as you said earlier, it's an ongoing thing and everybody does it.
Everybody does it. So, you've just got to make sure you don't spy on the wrong people.
Have we got the intelligence service to curb such a thing?
I don't know. I'm not privy to that. That you have to ask the guys in Pretoria.
How do we proceed from here in terms of, we talked about the relations between the US and Germany, but overall, Europe and the US?
Well, I think there are some discussions going to take place shortly, and they've got to sort this lot out and get back their relationship on an even keel, because it's just too important for the Western powers and for NATO to have conflict between two major players in world affairs and in the Western world.
Let's hope it all works out. That's Tom Wheeler, Research Associate at the South African Institute for International Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.